Hey everybody, welcome to Inside Tabletop. I am here today with Alexei from Bestiaria Miniatures, and I'm really excited about this one because this is the first time we're going to have someone from inside the 3D printing world actually on this show to talk about what I think is really interesting and important, which is the fact that you guys are planning a crowdfund, and it should be live when people see this video, to transform your business to actually also producing models in a physical space. But I wanted to do this video for people to be able to get to know you because you've been around, to me, really since the 3D printing Patreon thing started. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a bit about your background, and how did Bestiaria Miniatures come into being?
Beautiful. Hey Ash, massive thanks for having me here. So it's a big honor and a big pleasure, like being part of this podcast. So
For me as
when
well.
yeah, beautiful. So when we started Bestiarum, I mean, like it was my personal project at the beginning. So at the time, I was working into like as an art director in Dark Gate Games. So we're doing like traditional tabletop games with injection molding and like all those beauties. And like around this time, I also been doing like freelance job for various companies and sculpting figurines like for like 75 millimeter scales, like smaller, larger, whatever. But my heart always was kind of in dark fantasy, in horror mood, like in more mature themes.
Right.
And it was pretty tough actually to get the job in this domain. So the companies like
It's not marketable. It's not part of the mass market, really, these dark kind of almost
exactly.
adult style tropes. So that was how I first heard about you. Was I love that stuff as well. I love grimdark sort of like media and games and toys. And so that was the first thing I saw. Was I went and I was like, oh, this is not like anything else that's currently on the market.
Yeah, that's awesome. So since for me like this was my crusade, it's like my journey into this art form. So to express myself, and I thought that probably I would find like-minded people on the way who will appreciate this type of art. Since we don't see it much in video games, in movies, it's kind of hard to get to. So that was my first impulse to start the company. So I heard from guys around about the Patreon, and this thing actually can be monetized. So I decided, like, hell, why to wait? I just sculpted my first figurine, launched the Patreon, and we sailed off. So it was how much? Like
Well, we have
almost five
similar
years
stories
back.
because that was when GMG started. GMG launched the year that Patreon launched. So I have
Oh,
that
really?
same Patreon founder subscription with Patreon, basically, where I was there at the beginning. I was like, oh, this is new and different. Maybe I can make videos
Hmm.
this way. And here we both are this long later, where it kind of was a doorway into making what you wanted to make for the first time and like
Yeah,
communicating directly with your customers. So that's really cool that we share that kind of springboard.
absolutely. Yeah, and this is fantastic to have this support from it directly with community because we do something people love and they help us like in return. So and we keep going. So and actually now, right? So like after 5 years, we're sitting here like on this podcast, like and talking about industry from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not alone anymore on this journey. So I have my
Yeah.
team and
Yeah.
yes, and releases are way bigger and way more. I would say way more ambitious than it was at the time.
For sure, because it was just you and this like emerging 3D printer culture. Because 5 years ago, 3D printing was available, but it was still kind of a niche part of the tabletop industry and modeling. And now it's
Yeah,
full blown. Like you can buy 3D printers in North America at GameStop and at Staples. Like you can buy them anywhere. So you had this perfect kind of timing intersection of the ability to go direct to your customers through something like Patreon, and also 3D printing giving you basically you had a store in everybody's home because they owned a 3D printer that they could then print their stuff through.
yeah, exactly. So it was a very interesting time, I must remember. And plus, so like the COVID hit, and we both with my wife, we were always kind of freelancing and we were working from home. So it was
Mm-hmm.
a very kind of smooth transition into this. Uh, and so yeah, we started just to work together. Like she was helping me a lot on like all the social media photos, like graphic design stuff. I was sculpting it, like coming up with ideas. And yeah, like those first releases were like a very interesting time. And this
I
is
bet.
actually
Well, because
when
you didn't know what you were making yet, right? You're at the very beginning. You're like, I have this idea,
absolutely,
but it
yeah,
hasn't sort of like come together yet.
exactly, yeah. And this is actually the time when Tormentor Cults first appeared. Like this was our second release, and it was just a flow of imagination. It's like, hell, let me do something cool. Because in my
Mhm.
head, like what is the passion? What drives me here is I love to build a story. Is like that's the thing I prefer, like to build those characters, to make sure that every model in the collection has its place, has its kind of worth in it, like they complement each other, so there are no random dudes in the collection. So if something is there, they have a sense, they have a backstory, and
Hmm. It's
then
cohesive. Your collections are very cohesive, and what's interesting is it doesn't feel like it's meant for anything else. It's meant for the tone poem you're making. The Tormentor Cults is a story, and everybody fits into sort of the narrative of that story.
yeah. And I hope we were able to achieve this goal. And now, especially with the campaign, when we have the part two of the Tormentor Cults, and there is some special sauce that will be added only on the Kickstarter, so the guys will shortly see it. There are some additions that are supposed to kind of close the collection. So it will
That's
be like
excellent.
the ultimate package. So plus to
Cool.
this, like we're cooking the adventures in D&D settings, so people can experience that on their own kind of on their own tabletop. Since we don't
Hmm.
have yet our personal tabletop game, but this is just a matter of time.
But
We're still
it
using
gives someone sort of an avenue to explore them and use them in a sort of established setting like D&D. You can bring that story basically to life if you want with these models.
Yeah, like actually we are releasing D&D stories like for many years already, but this one it will be kind of like special. So it will be a compilation of several stories put together and like to create a more narrative and longer experience to
Cool.
kind of like to feel them all, because in D&D we don't use many characters in the same kind of scenario. So we
Right.
like it needs like only several. So players don't get tired, so they can get used to the characters and understand how to fight them. So we have to spread them all over the like several encounters. I mean, like several, I would say, like storylines.
Or campaigns. Yeah, the different plot lines
Yeah,
basically have to have different characters interact with them. But this is a grand plot, basically, a grand campaign that can include everybody if you eventually kind of explore all the corners.
yeah, and that's a hell of a task, I must say, because we don't have a like we don't have a solid ground, so we're building the lore on the fly, and like we have just the general concept of the world.
Right.
So and like what is the jailer's realm, like how it looks,
Mm.
how they
It's all
behave.
up here. Yeah, it's all up here. And now you have to actually write it down so someone else can know it.
Yeah. So it's like, and I'm really happy that I have my team now on my to help me, and it's like Marcus, he's also like contributing a lot to the story. Like actually, he's the main writer here. Then Alex also was doing his part of the lore. So yeah, it was a great, like it was a teamwork, and we brought it to life all together. So yeah.
That's exciting. That's really exciting. So so tell us more about you then. So Bestiariums is now this thing that's rolling and going. It's been going for 5 years. What were some of
Yeah.
your inspirations? What drew you to this? You said you were always inspired by dark fantasy. And I see all of these kind of pastiches of little hints at things that I think might be your inspiration. But I'd love to know what kind of grimdark media you've consumed that you love, that people watching this might have in common, where they can get kind of where this stuff's going. Like if they've never heard of Bestiarium before, what are some of your favorite sort of dark fantasy games, movies, books, where you kind of like draw some of your inspiration from?
Yeah, sure. It's like from the video media, it's like mostly those like older school movies, like from 80s, 90s. Like we have like the Brotherhood of the Wolf, so the one we
Yes.
discussed with you, like it's a fantastic
You have a
movie. I
model.
love the
I'll put
atmosphere.
it up on screen, but there's a model that I love. As soon as I saw it, I got Beast of Gévaudan vibes from Brotherhood of the Wolf. I love the Brotherhood of the Wolf. It's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, so then is like 13th Warrior. I like the mood how the guys made in there, like with this like wooden tribe. It's like in general in movies, what I look for when is like in these genres, like something what is grounded. Like we kind of
Mm,
we have the like it's not a direct horror, you know. It's like my I don't like when they show like guts and flesh and cutting. Like yeah, this is part of the genre, but it's not what makes me excited. So I like to see a little bit of mystery when they speak about the creature we do not see, when
hmm
it's like most like Lovecraftian way of storytelling, when like there are all those like those creatures in the dark and you just see one tentacle and then everyone is like,
hmm
oh my god, what's in there? So
You see the reaction to them, not the action of the creature, and that's what's more terrifying is how someone reacts to it or how someone has to like deal with it.
yeah, it's like in our line of art, yes, so here with this we have actually to show the guys how they are, how they look. But
Yep.
still, I love to put like those small hints in every design so they are interconnected. And specifically, if now we're talking about Tormentor Cults, like their thing is the jailer's realm, like his jail are like those
hmm
metallic bars that are intersected somewhere. So, and you will see it on the main character, I mean, like main avatar, then like smaller creatures, everything will be connected like around this mood. But getting back to the media, so I got driven with the like with those design things. I take a lot of inspiration from video games. So this is my favorite kind of thing for like to interact with games. Yes, or video.
Right.
So Dark Souls is
Yep, I
obviously
was gonna say that, especially with the jailer. Especially you wake up in the asylum and there's the jailer there. That was something that I got as soon as you said jailer. I was like, oh, that they're locking up these souls to like collect them to make power. That theme kind of came through.
yeah. So like from the older titles, I'm a big fan of Blade of Darkness. Like there's a very old game. Like this is like but like it had this grounded and interesting atmosphere that made me believe in a dark fantasy world they were building. So for me, the I would say the best example, yeah, now is Dark Souls series with like all the Bloodborne and everything was
hmm
in there. I don't know what those guys do there in Japan, but in my opinion, like they created like one of the
They
best like
captured it.
European horrors. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they captured
So
a feeling because it's funny because when I look at the art behind you on the wall, a lot of that has like that chiaroscuro Renaissance, like very high contrast, darkness and light, or darkness and like figure and forward, and that is Dark Souls, right? That they've captured that sort of like medieval Renaissance masters, sort of like mastery of light and dark, and you've
yeah.
definitely got that in your miniatures too. Like whenever I see your even your graphic design that you guys have done, it's always done against a dark background. It's always popping off the page, almost like a painting behind you, where
Yeah.
you've clearly identified with all of those like old masters paintings, all of these games, all of these films, where it's a tone poem. It's a feeling when you look at these things, and I think you've really captured that really well. So tell me, the Tormentor is a torment not Tormentor Cults. It is the Tormentor Cults.
Yeah,
They're
it is.
obviously the
It is.
collection that you're focused on right now, and you've got a whole bunch of collections you've done over time. So the Tormentor Cults is this kind of like key faction that we're kind of spotlighting right now. Tell me about them and their sort of background and how this creative space has allowed you to like tell their story or build out their story in your head.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a big question, so I'll try to be like shorter on
Yeah.
the
Greatest hits, greatest hits. What do you love about them? What is the theme that you're trying to put forward with them?
yeah, so the concept about Tormentor calls, and in general, you will see it across all our collections, is there is no black and white. They're all kind of in the gray fonts, so they are not specifically bad, and they're far from good. So those tormentors they just exist, and this this being they named Jailer, like it exists in their own realm. So those people from our universe, we name it Doaden. The life is pretty hard in there. So there were cataclysms and stuff like world is dying, and many of them they look for shelter in this weird prison realm. So we kind of tried to put ourselves like into like in very harsh conditions and imagine, okay, it's like how bad should be the life in the Aden. So those dudes actually seek the shelter from the jailer. And
It's like the best worst scenario. The world outside is even worse than the Tormentor Cults. You have a reason to join the Tormentor Cults.
yeah, it's like usually they come from the like lower layers of the societies. Like they join those cults. Some of them obviously they're looking for power, and ours they're just like brutes and criminals. This is how you get like Snatcher Lord, like how you get the brute wardens, because those like those inner emotions that live in every like in every human being, right? They can be tortured by jailer and transformed into the new form. So from here we're getting all those like different creatures around him. So then there is a caged like this guy who is like actually taking care of all the cages in the prison realm. Like he's walking those halls, moaning like, "Oh my cages, where are my cages? Like, come on, guys, like into my cages." It's like everyone has their own twist.
So
So
how does
yeah,
it feel? So how does it feel when now you've got these kind of like characters and they existed in your mind? You've
yeah.
had this like opportunity to through these like confluence of like 3D printing and Patreon, being able to be an independent artist to now put them into the world. How does it feel when someone paints one of these things? What does that do to you as the artist? Because that I can I want to hear like what is the feeling you get when you get to see someone's now interpretation of this thing you've made? Because I've seen tons of like Instagrams. There's a ton of incredible artists who've painted your miniatures now. How does that like resonate to you? What does that kind of like feel like to you as the creative person that had this up here and now gets to see it in front of them through someone else's eyes?
Polish is like this is an undescribable feeling, I must say. So this is a huge joy for me when every time when I see people interpret kind of their artistic vision using our models. Like, yeah, that's something unbelievable. So it's a huge joy. Especially I love when people build dioramas. I wanna see how they take this story and build
Mm-hmm.
it like on their tabletop, like what colors they would apply, like how they build the terrain around them, how they imagine this small story uh, is like on their end of the table. Because right, this industry, 3D printing, it opened a lot of doors. Since like I was speaking before, like I was working in multiple domains and in video games as well. It's extremely long way to from the concept till the final product that actually people can enjoy, right? Uh, with 3D printing, it's like this. It's in 1 month, basically. What
Mm-hmm.
what we do, this is a 1 month work right now. It's unbelievable. Like 25 miniatures with beautiful designs, with all the intricate details, pre-supported, with
Every month.
lore.
Yeah.
Yes, with
And
lore, with all the presentations. Like,
and you get that feedback and you immediately get that feedback. When you're working on a video game, you might make something and never know what people think about it for 5 years. Right. But you get
absolutely.
it instantly. You get this instant feedback. Do you draw energy from that? Does that give you inspiration for like the next month? That kind of like community that you get where you have this loop of like being creative, getting it out into the wild, and then seeing it come back. Like how does that affect you as an artist?
Oh, definitely. It's like it's very supportive to see how people react to our like new collection when we present the concept art. Like first, usually like we start reading the comments like, "Oh my God, it's like I thought last month was the best ever," and like now you come up with those ideas. Or like other people are writing that, "Hey, it's like when you propose the concept like of this and that, guys, I wasn't really interested, but now when I see the designs, I'm
Mm,
really into it." So
yeah.
like the whole team now, like we share those comments like internally, And yeah, so this helps us a lot because it's a pretty tough job, I must say. It's like to
It's a
have
lot
it
of
like on
work.
a monthly basis, yeah, to keep producing it because it's exhausting. Sure, it's like this type of artwork we deal with is the most time consuming, I would say, from all, because it's way easier to design like some kind of classical fantasy than to try and
Right.
imagine mature dark fantasy that doesn't look like a toy, but still is not over and not beyond the board. Like we're constantly fighting like those
Grounded
wars and
but different. Yeah, you're trying to do something that's grounded but still uniquely Bestiaira miniatures. That's a challenge,
yeah,
right? It's not just another D&D model. It's something that is uniquely you because you have a style now. You have a feeling that your miniatures elicit, and you're kind of constantly driving at it. But I agree. I think that the community loop, when you have a community cultivated, I will certainly say from my experience, when that feeds back into what you make next, that's the most, that I think that for me as an artist, that combats that feeling of like, what is it, the imposter syndrome, where you're like, I don't know if they're gonna like this, but you get that loop constantly and you're like, oh, I know they're gonna like this, and you feel more confident, and that gives you more energy and you get to do it more often. So then I guess my last question is the on ramp. So and we'll do a whole other video about this stuff with the plan for this, but the on ramp widening, the idea that you want to now make this available outside of just that 3D printing culture. And while that's still going to be like the core of what you do, having this be something that shops can sell, that can be sold at conventions, that anybody can retail buy, so that there's not kind of a door or a gate on the product. What made you guys come to that decision, and how is this Kickstarter sort of like the fulfillment of that?
yeah, okay. So that's true. It's like here, if with 3D printing, I feel we found our audience, like we found our voice. Like it really helped to build the confidence in the brand. And now I clearly realize that we have to move forward. And the physical releases is the next step for us because the 3D printing technology is a fantastic tool. Like it's accessible right now, but still it require kind of technical knowledge and stuff to deal with the machines to get like the proper result. So by going physical, I'm following like several goals. Is like first of all is to give to the community the quality, the best we can offer.
Right.
So what uh, and because of this, like we have our dedicated manufacturer who is like-minded, like we are. We're like super focused on quality. So and he is as well. So it's Dungeon Artifacts, like
Mm-hmm.
fantastic quality models, and with this, like it was like the first step, like to make sure we can manufacture it, and what to do next. Yes, I want to do a game. So now
Excellent.
when like this universe, it cannot exist without us letting the community interact actually with all those ideas we created. Because yes, we can use like a lot of different gaming systems, and we actually tried because we have Dungeons and Dragons support and we have Forbidden Sound support.
Right.
So every month, yeah, we were releasing those kind of adventures. It's cool, but I have some ideas that those games are not allowing me to implement.
Right.
So I want to give them experience like they are living in this world. Like there is a band of heroes who are like following their path in there. Like they will live through the experience what these Duadan lands will give them. Like we'll face the
Right.
horrors and the sadness and the happiness of the victory and the brotherhood, like all those moments. So I'm because this
And have the
campaign is
rules reflect that. The rules support the universe and the world that you're making, and have that
yeah,
experience come through to the players. I gotcha.
absolutely, yeah. So and this Kickstarter campaign actually is meant to help us raise some extra funds so we start the development of the gaming system. Because
Excellent.
yeah, it will be an interesting and not easy path. So like like everything that requires like a lot of patience. So I don't want to
Yeah.
rush. and
Well,
made
I mean, you
sure.
have the ingredients, right? You have these beautiful collections of miniatures that now you can have as your starting point. And if they're available in the physical space already, that's another step forward. People can see what is on offer. Oh, that's awesome. Well, okay.
Yeah,
So we're going to do another video, which will be out next week, which is going to be all about what this now process looks like for you as far as quality and your sort of your learning experience of, well, we really know this 3D printing space, but we want to
yeah,
move into this other thing. Because I imagine that's a whole other conversation of what it's like to go from one to the other.
yeah, absolutely. So we'll have a lot of things to talk about because there are many different options, and there are ups and downs, and yeah, it will be very interesting to discuss it. So I'm really
Cool.
happy to share it.
Well, I'm excited for you guys, and I love your story. I love that your story is one of opportunity that you guys seized on, and that it's allowed you guys to make this transition and have the opportunity to express this art that was inside you. Like, because I think it's really compelling. I think you guys have done one of the most like evolved sort of like collection wise Patreons, and I love the fact that it's uniquely you. There's nothing really that looks like a bestiary miniature out there. You guys have a unique sort of like flavor to what you do. It's not meant to be a proxy for anything else. It's just a collection of cool models that people like. They use them for all kinds of things, but it's always something that's their own sort of creative expression. And I'm so glad that you guys had the opportunity to move forward and do this crowdfund. It's really exciting for you.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate your words, and for me, it's a massive pleasure that we actually became something that has the name, so
Yeah.
that has the mood, and yeah, that was the goal. So hell, like art
Awesome.
experience.
Awesome. All right. We'll see all you guys next week for our part 2 of this thing. Thank you, Alexei, for coming on, and thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.
Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and thanks to Bestiarim's Alexei for coming on and talking everything to do with 3D printing and Bestiarim. Now, their crowdfund for the Tormentor Cults should be going up today, shortly after this video airs, so you guys can go and check it out. It'll be linked in the description below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.